It's Friday the 13th. My soul brother, who's born on my birthday, Red Feather, we have the same birthday. And I've never met, well, until him, I'd never met anyone that had my exact same birthday. Now, he's born a few years younger. I don't know exactly how old he is. I'm not that anal about fucking details. Nor are my gnomes. And if anybody's going to be anal about some detail, it's going to be these motherfucking gnomes. Period. So, he had a happy birthday to his child, Templar Knight, on, I don't know all the details. He sent me the picture and it looked like they were at home. To that I applaud. I applaud any woman that can have her own baby at home. She's a badass. If she can have her baby at home. My old lady didn't have none of her babies at home. Wasn't going to be none of that. No, we like science and drugs for things like that. Absolutely. But people are all different types. But early in the morning's discussions, it became apparent everyone's talking about Isaac Newton. You know, Isaac Newton was a fucking incredible son of a bitch. He had all kinds of ideas. He was an alchemist. He was a scientist. He started thinking. He came up with new ideas about things that were old ideas and made them new. You know, a man of science, a Renaissance man. And everyone says that he came up with gravity when the apple fell on his head. And I said, Father, wait a minute. Isn't it more likely that he saw the apple fall if he was sitting under the apple tree? Why is it that when we tell the story, we say the apple falls on his head? Somewhere in there it got mixed up. There was someone down the line in the Vine phone call, somewhere down the line.
Isaac Newton.
Didn't listen.
Did you say that? Did you tell those people that it hit you in the head?
Say it fell on his head. There was another guy.
I can't remember. I was into some kinky shit.
Shut off of his head.
Isaac Newton
What's
rules.
that guy's name? That had the apple shut off his head. William Tell. Something about, and that has something to do with the right to bear arms, I think, and tyrannical governments. I'm not entirely sure. I think they forced the father to shoot the apple off his head. And that's another one I don't know. So where do we come up with these stories? Or why is it that these stories morph and twist so much? Why can't we just keep with the fucking facts on anything? You know, that's a problem that we humans have. We're not good with keeping to the facts on most anything. We'll stay with the facts for a little while, and then a wild hair or a consideration or an idea or some twist of emo will call us to refer to things differently. And that's not good with science. You don't want to blur your recollections. You might want to write that shit down. So people try to do that. People try to write things down. And it's just very interesting to consider that although we have these rough out versions of stories, without the actual witness and the participating in the event of creating, we're getting a secondhand lion. We're getting some fucking most likely regurgitated form of bullshit. And that's not good. That's not good stuff. It's not the good stuff. You can get the good stuff. But a lot of times you'll have to do some remote viewing. On some of these events I recommend that you do remote viewing. You look in your mind, close your eyes and look into your mind and revisit the event. Now what I've found, and this was interesting, this was something I did not expect to find, was the case. When I would look back on my family story, like my dad would tell me a story about being at his grandpa's house. It would be a story I heard many times. I would visualize the house the same way. The house would come into... Now, if it's a place I'd been, I'd see it in my mind, and I'd see the scene of it like I'm looking at it, and that would be the memory. Other times there was nothing like that. where there is just a script saying this event occurs, and underneath it, it's all darkness. I had to go in and look, and I started asking very strange questions that were secondary, you know, not the type of questions somebody probably 70 years later would ask about certain details of nuance and such. Because I would literally go in and I visualize and look at a scene. I see a scene, or I don't see a scene. I see a cloudy area, and I can go into the cloudy area and then begin to construct the scene. This was very recent. Like I said, I didn't expect this to be the case. I wasn't looking for it. It was one of those things that I sort of found along the way in some of these studies. So it does matter in how you digest information, skills, talents, expertise of what you're doing. If you just have a reference number, or if you have the actual experience that you maybe culminate, maybe go back and sit under that tree with Isaac Newton and see what you see. See if you see an apple fall right to the front of him to the left and it thud on the ground real heavy. And if you can't sit in that spot that man did actually sit in, if that event did actually happen, because then you're in the place of the observer. Then you get lent to you the sensory extensions through Mr. Sir Isaac fucking Newton. Then whatever faculties he had, and if he was an alchemist, check that box. If he was a man of science, check that box. And he was. Back in those times, men were like, jack of all trades sort of things. We hadn't got off into this specialization that we have had at the turn of the century, this century we're in now, this new millennium, turn of the millennium. Detail-oriented humans that are not very smart in broad spectrum ways. That's a control mechanism. That's a control mechanism. When you specialize and you look into just a certain thing, and that's kind of like how the sword cuts both ways. If it's information that you can use and it can be enriching to your life, and you can make that life be a shining light to be exemplary to other people in actions and deeds and inspiration, motivation, morale even, then that's good. But if it's just some fanciful fucking story that you listen to tuck yourself in at night, maybe not so much. Maybe not so much. I was going to watch some video. I was looking for some videos that I'd watched in the past. This was a couple days ago because I was sure as fuck I wasn't going to find this. I thought. Now, because I don't know. When YouTube starts doing all its weird shit and they start banning me for talking about stuff, certain stuff, being a white fucking God wills it judo Christian male, far right fucking crusader knight who has a gnome on his shoulder. I've got gnomes on my shoulders. I do, I got one. So that made me think. I was like, interesting. This is an interesting concept. But I think it's important to open these concepts up to have to someone else, to see something new, because it'll make the values that you have in the things that you value easier to make sense of. That's part of the scales of the apocalypse, is those scales. Don't harm the wine. Remember, all that. So those things are, those horsemen are, they're like the protein locking concept thing, 4 elements, 4 horsemen. We sort of have a 4 worlds going on with us. And of course you could take that to 5, the 4 here. And it was number 4 child that he had. It was number 4 on my shirt I got out of the dream. You could put the shirt on, you would disappear. And I had some crazy dreams last night. But I kept waking up. I'd go back to the same dream, but it was a physical exercise. Whatever was going on in the dream was some sort of physical exercise to get over some sort of physical obstacle. I saw concrete. There was some other stuff, but I don't remember. I don't remember. It was every once in a while, every like 15 dreams, there's a dream about this giant tower that goes forever into the sky. Every level of it is like a year of your life. You know, I've seen it being built in the middle of like an apartment complex. Monsters going on the walls. There was like background NPC characters that climb the walls. Nice, like yesterday. Awesome. Yes. Yes. See, his wife, her birthday, I think, is May 13th. My ex-wife's is May 12th. And see, I think naturally the September 4 person and the May 12th, May whatever those days are, they go together. They fit. They do make a good husband and wife. Now, there was a lot of obstacles in my marriage, and I love my wife still, wherever she's at. I still love her. But I have love for myself too. And I don't want to be fucking locked away in some fucking prison over some bullshit. No, we couldn't figure it out because we didn't. If we would have figured it out, we wouldn't have fucking harmed each other. Then we could have had a good union. Other than that, but we have a lot more opposing faculty in our encampment than I think my friend Feather does. Red Feather. I like his wife. She's cool. I like her. So happy birthday, young child. But I thought I would ask that because I'm not sure if people knew or how they visualize. They tell me that my brain's holotropic, and it's part of that is like a hologram, you know. And if you're seeing pictures in your mind is constructing some sort of hologram to look at something. So something like that's going on in your third eye. You know, our eyes do the same thing, you know. So our consensus of reality is based upon a consensus that we have to sometimes pull those threads back and make sense of what the hell those actual things we're saying are. Because language, albeit a great symbolic representation of word concepts, doesn't really do as good as when you can see the fucking... If I show you the sandwich in your mind, the sandwich I picture, then there's a lot... The words have no meaning. The words are useless because you're seeing what I'm telling you. Sandwich. Anyway, have a wonderful day. Happy Friday 13th.